The hour of convening having arrived, all members of the House will please report to the floor. All members of this House will please report to the floor of the House. The clerk will ring the bell. All members will please report to the floor of the House. The Rules Committee is still meeting, and looks like they could be several more minutes. So we're going to go ahead and start our business, but we are going to defer the morning roll call. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. We will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 10th House District, the governor's floor leader, Representative Terry Rogers. Representative Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today is Civil Air Patrol Day at the Capitol. For those of you who don't know, the Civil Air Patrol is the official auxiliary of the United States Air Force and plays a vital role in supporting the Air Force mission. So we're very pleased to have them. As part of that, our Minister of the Day today is the chaplain for the Georgia wing of the Civil Air Patrol. Captain Paul Reeves is from Statesboro, Georgia. He graduated from Georgia Southern University and with both a bachelor's and a master's, and then went to New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, where he got his ministry degree, and he's been in various churches throughout. He and his wife Lynn have 3 boys, and I'm very interested in hearing his message this morning. We've done this a couple of years. He always has a good positive message for us. So without further ado, Captain Paul Reeves.
Mr. Speaker and Representative Rogers, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a distinct honor to be here again. I say again because it was a year ago to the day that we had Civil Air Patrol Day here at the Capitol, and I had the honor then of speaking to you. And to me, it seems like just a couple of days, but it has been 365 of them. But it is good to be back here and to be able to speak with you. Now, I am a representative of the United States Air Force Auxiliary, the Civil Air Patrol. Our wing here in Georgia, we have 844 cadets. I might be just a wee bit biased, but I think they're some of the finest young people that we have in our state. I know that there are plenty of others as well. We have, and our cadets are aged 12 through 18. Then we have 1,017 senior members. Let's see, that's 1,861 total members. Now, we have wings across our nation. We have more than 62,000 members, and you don't hear a lot from us. But I encourage you to look up Civil Air Patrol and see what we do. One of our core values is the volunteer spirit, to volunteer, to give of ourselves selflessly. We, as members of the Civil Air Patrol, we pay to be part of that. And so our volunteerism is where we actually have bought in, if you will, to the mission of the Civil Air Patrol. The chaplain corps of our organization is very much in tune with the Air Force Chaplain Corps, and we support them. As a matter of fact, from time to time, if the Air Force needs a chaplain, they will call on the Civil Air Patrol. So that is a shameless plug, and I will admit to that. But let me go a little farther on our core values. Now, I mentioned volunteer spirit. We have the core values of integrity, excellence, respect, and volunteer service. So we have been serving since the first day of December 1941, which was 6 days before the attack on Pearl Harbor. And so from that date forward, the members of Civil Air Patrol, including our chaplains, have been serving our state, our communities, our state, and our nation. In the scriptures, we see that serving is a major theme throughout. In Acts of the Christian Bible, Acts 20:35, we see this. Remember the words of the Lord Jesus himself. He said, "It's more blessed to give than to receive." We say that a lot, and it is backed up by the scripture. We also read in the Old Testament from Isaiah 58:10 that if you spend yourselves in behalf of the hungry and satisfy the needs of the oppressed, then your light will rise in the darkness, and your light will become like noonday. And in Mark 9, we also read more about service. Jesus' disciples were arguing among themselves. Now, we don't ever argue, and that's something I don't think that's right. I think we do argue. These men were following Jesus, and they were arguing about who was going to be the greatest. So Jesus told them this. This is in chapter 9 of the book of Mark. This is my paraphrase, by the way. Whoever wants to be first must purposefully take the last place, to put everyone else in front of you, to stand at the back of the line. If someone else comes up behind you, let them go in front of you. To be great, you must be a servant of everyone. Serving not for compensation or for public acclaim, not for glory. Serving because the great teacher taught us that's the right thing to do. So here's my charge to myself and to you. Whom can you find to serve today? How can you serve someone else without looking for something in return? It's always my prayer that I will find a way to serve somebody else. Will you pray with me? God in heaven, you are so powerful, and you're omnipresent, and you're the all-knowing God. We cannot hide from you. You know our inmost thoughts and motives. You know when we're hiding or when we're serving for our own glory. I ask you to guide us to find those who are in need. And in this chamber today, Lord, I pray that you will guide the deliberations, that I ask you to be present here and to draw each representative closer to you in service to the citizens of our state. Bless those who lead, give them wisdom, and show them your path. Remind us all when and where we sin so that we can confess, and that clears the way for us to serve. I pray this in the holy, powerful, and majestic name of Jesus Christ. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much for being with us.
My pleasure, sir.
Thank you. You honor us. Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. Chair recognizes the Vice Chairman of the Committee on Information and Audits, Vice Chairman Donahue.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits has read the procedure of the type previous legislation day and found them to be correct.
Vice Chairman Donahue, the Chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. Burns, on 159th, moves the following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction to bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Reports of standing committees. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 631 by Representative Holmes, the 129th bill being titled Act to amend an act providing for certain costs in certain criminal cases and quasi-criminal cases shall be used for the purposes of maintaining the Butts County Courthouse.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 632 by Representative Jaspers, the 11th bill being titled Act to amend an act to reconstitute the Pickens County Board of Education.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 633 by Representative Williamson, and the 115th bill being titled Act to amend an act to reincorporate the city of Monroe.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 634 by Representative Shannon, the 84th, Wayne of the 89th, Cannon of the 58th, Dreyer of the 59th, and Davis of the 87th. Bill being titled Act to amend Chapter 1 and Title 34 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions of labor and industrial relations.
Industry and labor.
House Bill 635 by Representative Cannon, the 58th, Dreyer of the 59th, Gardner the 57th, Thomas the 56th, Schofield the 60th, and others. Bill be titled Act to provide for a new homestead exemption for the city of Atlanta ad valorem taxes.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 636 by Representative Shannon, the 84th, Scott of the 76th, Thomas the 39th, Stevens of the 90th, Cannon of the 58th, and others. Bill be titled Act to amend Chapter 1 and Title 35, the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions regarding law enforcement officers.
Public safety and homeland security.
House Bill 637 by Representative Hawkins, the 27th, Dubnick of the 29th, Donahue the 30th, Barr of the 103rd. Bill be titled Act to create the Lula Development Authority.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 638 by Representative Dickey, the 140th, Beverly, the 143rd, Washburn, the 141st. Bill be titled Act to amend an act creating the Macon-Bibb County Community Enhancement Authority.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 639 by Representative Sessler, the 35th, Reeves, the 34th, Parsons, the 44th, and Earhart, the 36th. Bill be titled Act to amend an act creating a new charter for the city of Kennesaw.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 640 by Representatives Corbett of the 174th, Burchett of the 176th, Saints of the 180th. Bill be entitled Act to amend an act creating the State Court of Ware County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Resolution 554 by Representative Scott of the 76th, Cannon of the 58th, Kendrick of the 93rd. A resolution creating the House Study Committee on Men's Rights to Know.
Health and Human Services.
House Resolution 584 by Representative Jones, the 25th, Petrie, the 166th, Hatchett, the 150th, Fryer, the 118th, Burkle, the 155th, and others. A resolution creating the House Study Committee on exploring a floor and trade charity care system.
Special Committee on Access to Quality Health Care.
Senate Bill 241 by Senator Gooch of the 51st. Bill be titled Act to amend an act creating the Lumpkin County Water and Sewage Authority.
Intergovernmental coordination.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 620 by Representative Cannon of the 58th, Scott of the 76th, Thomas of the 56th, Stevenson of the 90th, Henson of the 86th, a bill relating to state employees' health insurance and benefit plans. House Bill 621 by Representative Frazier of the 126th, Clark of the 98th, Scott of the 76th, Glanton of the 75th, Williams of the 168th, and others. bill relating to general provisions regarding holidays and observances, House Bill 622 by Representative Williams of the 145th and Rhodes of the 120th, a bill to amend an act providing for the membership of the Sinclair Water Authority, House Bill 623 by Representative Pullen of the 131st, a bill to create the Joint Board of Elections and Registration of Pike County, House Bill 624 by Representative Davis of the 87th, a bill relating to review of individuals' criminal history, record information, definitions, privacy considerations, written application requesting review and inspection. House Bill 625 by Representative Smith of the 70th, Trammell of the 132nd, Stover of the 71st, a bill to authorize the governing authority of Coweta County to levy an excise tax. House Bill 626 by Representative Smith of the 70th, Trammell of the 132nd, Stover of the 71st, a bill to authorize the governing authority of the city of Noonan to levy an excise tax. House Bill 627 by Representative Schofield of the 60th, Buckner of the 137th, Hughley of the 136th, Holcomb of the 81st, Thomas of the 39th, and others, a bill relating to legislative services. House Bill 628 by Representative Cantrell of the 22nd, Green of the 151st, Smith of the 70th, Jones of the 167th, Caldwell of the 20th, and others, a bill relating to general provisions relative to state government. House Bill 629 by Representative Holcomb of the 81st, a bill relating to physicians, assistants, and others. House Bill 630 by Representative Cantrell of the 22nd, Caldwell of the 20th, Smith of the 70th, Mathiak of the 73rd, Jones of the 167th, and others, a bill relating to general provisions relative to state government. House Resolution 530 by Representative Trenner of the 85th, a resolution urging Uber and Lyft transportation companies to incorporate wheelchair accommodations into all of their ride-sharing services. House Resolution 531 by Representative Stovall of the 74th, a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to provide for local legislation to authorize the election of school superintendents for local school systems. House Resolution 532 by Representative Gardner of the 57th, Smyrie of the 135th, a resolution recognizing Henry Hank Lewis Aaron and dedicating a bridge in his honor. House Resolution 533 by Representative LaHood of the 175th, Bonner of the 72nd, Taylor of the 173rd, Kirby of the 114th, Petrie of the 166th, a resolution creating a House Study Committee on Innovative Financial Options for Senior Living. House Resolution 553 by Representative Walensky of the 79th, Fleming of the 121st, Smyrie of the 135th, Kelly of the 16th, Beverly of the 143rd, and others, a resolution creating the House Study Committee on Cyberbullying. Senate Bill 234 by Senator Harper of the 7th, a bill to provide that the judge of the Probate Court of Atkinson County shall also serve as the Chief Magistrate Judge of the Magistrate Court of Atkinson County. Senate Bill 236 by Senator Kirk of the 13th, a bill to repeal an act providing the tax commissioner of Lee County shall retain a percentage of educational funds collected. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Tom McCall of the 33rd District, Chairman of the Committee on Agriculture and Consumer Affairs, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Agriculture and Consumer Affairs has under consideration the following bills of the Senate. It's instructed me to report same back to the House. Following recommendations, Senate Bill 75, do pass by committee substitute, respectfully submitted Representative Tom McCall of the 33rd District, Chairman. Representative Greg Morris, the 156th District, Chairman of the Committee on Banks and Banking, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Banks and Banking has had under consideration the following bills of the Senate. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 20 do pass, Senate Bill 157 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Greg Morris of the 156th District, Chairman. Representative Clark of the 147th District, Chairman of the Committee on Defense and Veteran Affairs, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Defense and Veteran Affairs is under consideration following bills of the Senate. This instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 140 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Clark of the 147th District, Chairman. Representative Don Parsons of the 44th District, Chairman of the Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications has had under consideration the following bills of the Senate. Has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 95 do pass. Senate Bill 100 do pass. Senate Bill 43 do pass. Senate Bill 2 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Don Parsons of the 44th District, Chairman. Representative Terry Rose of the 120th District, Chairman of the Committee on Game, Fish, and Parks, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Game, Fish, and Parks has under consideration the following bills of the Senate. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 72 to pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Trey Rhodes of the 120th District, Chairman. Representative Sharon Cooper, the 43rd District Chairman of the Committee on Health and Human Services, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Health and Human Services has added in consideration the following bills of the House and the Senate and instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Resolution 421, due pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 168, due pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 207, due pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Sharon Cooper, the 43rd District, Chairman. Representative Martin of the 49th District, Chairman of the Committee on Higher Education, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Higher Education has had under consideration the following bills to the Senate and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 91, due pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 161, due pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Martin of the 49th District, Chairman. Representative Bill Werkheiser, the 157th District Chairman of the Committee on Industry and Labor, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Industry and Labor has had under consideration the following bills of the Senate and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 135, due pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Bill Werkheiser, the 157th District Chairman. Representative Jan Tankersley, the 160th District Chairman of the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Locals, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Locals had under consideration the following bills of the House. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 602, due pass. House Bill 607, due pass. House Bill 608, due pass. House Bill 610, due pass. House Bill 611, due pass. House Bill 616, due pass. House Bill 617, due pass. House Bill 619, due pass. House Bill 612, due pass. House Bill 614, due pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Tankersley, the 160th District Chairman. Representative Barry Fleming of the 121st District Chairman of the Committee on Judiciary submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration the following bills of the Senate and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 110, due pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 32, due pass by substitute. Senate Bill 104, due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Barry Fleming of the 121st District Chairman. Representative F. Stration of the 104th District Chairman of the Committee on Judiciary Non-Civil submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Judiciary Non-Civil has had under consideration the following bills of the Senate and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 9, due pass by substitute. Senate Bill 208, due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative F. Stration of the 104th District Chairman. Representative Ballinger, the 23rd District Chairman of the Committee on Juvenile Justice, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Juvenile Justice has had under consideration the following bills of the Senate and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 167, due pass by substitute. Senate Bill 225, due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Ballinger, the 23rd District Chairman. Representative John Corbett of the 174th District Chairman of the Committee on Motor Vehicles submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Motor Vehicles has had under consideration the following bills of the Senate. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 212, due pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 137, due pass. Senate Bill 227, due pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 149, due pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative John Corbett of the 174th District Chairman. Representative Lynn Smith, the 70th District Chairman of the Committee on Natural Resources and Environment, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Natural Resources and Environment has had under consideration the following bills of the House and instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Resolution 48, due pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Lynn Smith of the 70th District Chairman. Representative Bill Hitchens, the 161st District Chairman of the Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security has had under consideration the following bills of the Senate. It has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 62 passed by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Bill Hitchens, 161st District, Chairman. Representative Powell, the 32nd District, Chairman of the Committee on Regulated Industries, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Regulated Industries has had under consideration the following bills of the Senate. It has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 153 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Powell of the 32nd District, Chairman. Representative Benton of the 31st District, Chairman of the Committee on Retirement, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Retirement has had under consideration the following bills of the Senate. It has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 117 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Benton of the 31st District, Chairman. Representative Richard Smith, the 134th District, Chairman of the Committee on Special Committee on Access to Quality Health Care, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Special Committee on Access to Quality Health Care has had on consideration the following bill of the Senate. It has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 106 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Richard Smith, the 134th District, Chairman. Ready? Representative Kevin Tanner of the 9th District, Chairman of the Committee on Transportation, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Transportation has had under consideration the following bill of the Senate. It has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 79 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Kevin Tanner of the 9th District, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
We're going on now to the local calendar. I tell you what, we're going to do the roll call first. We deferred roll call earlier today. Mr. Clerk, would you ring the bell? We are going now to have the morning roll call, which was deferred earlier due to the Rules Committee meeting. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. We are now going on to the local calendar. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills. There are two bills on the local calendar which relate to homestead exemption and require a recorded 2/3 roll call vote for passage. For what purpose does Chairman Welch rise?
Parliamentary
State your inquiry.
I'd like to be recused from the vote concerning the local calendar under Rule 133.
Gentleman has that right, and the journal will so reflect. If there is no objection, we will vote on the local calendar as a whole with a recorded vote. Hearing none, it is so ordered. The clerk will read the local calendar.
House Bill 602 by Representative Dempsey, the 13th City of Rome. House Bill 607 by Representative Stevens, the 164th Chatham County. House Bill 608 by Representative Meeks, the 178th City of Hoboken. House Bill 610 by Representative Collins, the 68th Carroll County. House Bill 611 by Representative Jackson, the 64th City of South Fulton. House Bill 616 by Representative Kelly, the 16th Polk County. House Bill 617 by Representative Kelly, the 16th Haralson County. House Bill 619 by Representative Belton of the 112th Newton County. House Bill 612 by Representative Dreyer, the 59th City of Hapeville. House Bill 614 by Representative Dreyer, the 59th City of Hapeville.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on the local calendar? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall these bills now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bills on the local calendar will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bills on the local calendar. The ayes are 160. The nays are 0. These bills, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. We're going on now to morning orders. We're going on to morning orders. I will not disclose the number of members that have signed up for morning orders for fear of the groan that I know will come forth. But I will limit morning orders to 1 minute each, and that will be strictly enforced. 1 minute each. Chair recognizes Chairman Dollar for a morning order.
Thank you, Speaker. Today, in honor of the 40th year anniversary with Sister City State between Taipei and Atlanta, the mayor of Taiwan and several of the city council have joined us today. They're meeting with the governor and lieutenant governor, and right after they are done here, they're going over to City Hall to meet with the mayor. So, and with them, we have the members of the TECO office here in Atlanta, Taiwan Economic Development Office. If this time, if the representatives and the city council would please rise and be recognized. Thank you, Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Houston Gaines for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise this morning with my colleagues to recognize the Georgia Young Republicans who are visiting the Capitol Day and have their day at the Dome. They have 15 chapters across Georgia. Their president's Colt Chambers. They've been working hard and making a real difference across our state. It's encouraging to see so many young people getting involved on both sides of the aisle, so please join me in recognizing the Georgia Young Republicans.
Chair recognizes Representative Evans for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. We rise today to recognize the powerful and amazing women of the Georgia WAND Education Fund, a nonprofit that focuses on environmental justice, nuclear equity, nuclear disarmament, and peace, and women's leadership. Georgia WAND, the Women's Education for a New Direction, works primarily with rural communities in the central Savannah River area in East Georgia, especially Burke County, and the historically thriving, now blighted, gentrifying communities in the greater Atlanta area, especially Neighborhood Planning Unit V. The women of WAND bridge the urban-rural divide by centering their work in these historically marginalized communities, drawing parallels between them and cultivating leaders. You can learn more about their good work in this flyer here, and I ask you all to please do that. And I want to give a shout out to the WAND members.
Ladies'
Can they please
time is
stand?
expired.
Thank you. And please join us at the tea this afternoon, the
Ladies'
Women in Will
time has
Tea.
expired. Chair recognizes Representative Burnow for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This morning, I'd like to recognize Eden Nastal, a resident and co-founder of Real Heroes Report, a magazine that honors active and reservist military, veterans, and first responders. Would you please stand and welcome Eden and Commissioner Roby, Brigadier General Randall Simmons, her staff, and family. Roby. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Hutchinson for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today on your desk you will find a book. It's called My Turn Now, and it features all of the almost 200 children in the state of Georgia who are waiting for an adoptive home. Today I will be recognizing on page 15 Antonio. Learning about science and building computers are just two of the things that future computer engineer and business owner Antonio likes to do. He enjoys playing video games, listening to pop music, flying his drones, playing Monopoly, and watching Avengers: Infinity War. Antonio needs a loving adoptive family who will provide him with the attention, support, encouragement, and nurturing environment he needs to continue and thrive to reach his goals. Today is one day that I will recognize a child. Every day I'm here, I'll recognize another one. That's Antonio on the screen. Thank you, and I yield well.
Chair recognizes Representative Kennard for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. On any given night in Georgia, there are 27,000 homeless individuals, half of which are children. It is my belief that we can solve the problem of homelessness, that we can actually end it. Today in the gallery, we're recognizing several organizations that address the issue of homelessness. I'd like to introduce Matt Elder of Home First, Andrew Lellerstadt of Atlanta Dream Center, Philip and Josh Bray and his staff at Safe House Outreach, and an organization that's dear to my heart, Inspire Outreach. Would everybody from Inspire stand today? We have staff members, church members, and many of our program participants who are getting back on their feet. You're my heroes, you're my sheroes. It was Mahatma Gandhi who said that the measure of a nation's greatness is its treatment of its weakest members. I yield the will.
Chair recognizes Representative Marin for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am speaking on behalf of Representative Marin and myself. I'd like to recognize, and if the individuals from FACE Insurance Group could please stand. They are a family-owned business that is now ran by brothers Juan and Felipe Contreras, that has been recognized as being the most dynamic and committed business in Georgia, and their offices include both offices here in Georgia and South Carolina. If we can please give them a hand. And we'd also like to recognize Up Advertisement, if they can also stand to be recognized. Alejandra and Felipe are the owners, and they have clients including the Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the Latin American Association. So thank you for your business development here in our state.
Chair recognizes Representative Gertler for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. I'd like to recognize a very special group of constituents who are visiting us from my home county, the 8th District, Rabun County. The 8th District I have the honor to represent is located in the northeast Georgia mountains and includes Rabun Towns, Union, and White counties. Many of you maybe know the alpine city of Helen. Tourism is our #1 industry because of the natural and awesome beauty of the mountains, rivers, and lakes, and the great people who reside there every day. Not only is it one of the most beautiful locations in the state, one of the most conservative as well. I contend it is the absolute best place to represent, to live, and to raise a family in the world. Of course, I'm a little bit biased on that. I'd like to recognize our GOP chairman, our second vice chair, our secretary, and the director of Chamber of Commerce, as well as like to give special thanks to some of my favorite constituents here, including my mother and father, Paul and Kim, as well as my beautiful wife, Marissa, who's expecting our firstborn this July. Please stand and give them a round of applause.
Chair recognizes Representative Stovall for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And today is Single Parents Day in the state of Georgia. We're excited because we have several of our single parents across the state who are here visiting us, and we have some award recipients and honorees that I would like to recognize. Sonia McKenzie, Jana James, Brianna Jordan, Curtis Morrow, Shalyn Watson, Lachelle Brunson, Bashana Jones, Lily Mae Carolla, Nisha Allen, Brandy Brewster, Sadie Byers, Dawn Bynum, Aquia Cole, Medela Holmes, Nadia Hughes, Brittany Hubbard, Ingrid Hughie, Ayenda Jackson, DeJohn Jackson, LaQueria Giles, Summer Jones, William Kemp, Aisha Knight, Shadonia Arnold Postel, Janice Stewart, Becky Thomas, Jimia White, Terria Williams. Those are award recipients and honorees. They were nominated by people who think that and believe they're doing an outstanding job. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, will you help me to welcome the single parents from the state of Georgia?
Chair recognizes Representative Chokas for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Alan, if you would come on up here, and Dale, and let me see who else. Shaw Blackburn. This is recognizing Georgia Southwestern State University. Alan Powell went to GSW, and Dale played baseball at GSW, and Shaw's parents went to school there. And I've got a group of students from Georgia Southwestern State University up in the gallery. It's a 4-year unit of the university system with about 3,000 students, founded about 100 years ago. They do a great job. Their new slogan is a play off of the team name, the Hurricanes, and their new slogan is Taking Tomorrow by Storm. But I want y'all all to recognize and welcome our students from Georgia Southwestern State University, and we'll have Neil Weaver, its president, here later. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good job, Mike.
Chair recognizes Representative Dreyer for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a solemn occasion. I rise to talk about the attacks at Christchurch, New Zealand on 2 mosques and other attacks on houses of worship that have taken place recently. In 2012, there was an attack on the Sikh temple that killed 6. In 2015, attack on Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston that killed 9. The 2017 attack on Islamic Center in Quebec City that killed 6. And then just recently, November 2018, attack on the Tree of Life Synagogue that killed 11. The attackers in these instances have explicitly stated they were motivated by hate, racism, anti-Semitism, anti-refugee anger, and anti-Muslim hate. All of these acts of extremism were motivated by hate, and I ask you all to stand with us against hate, terrorism, with our Muslim brothers and sisters, and in honor of the 50 lives that were lost. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Corbett for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Everybody knows that Georgia is the #1 forestry state in the nation, and today, March 21st, is International Day of Forestry, and in recognition of that, we have a resolution that states the members of this body recognize the environmental, economic, and social benefits that Georgia's sustainable forest product supply chain provides to all 10 million Georgians in honor of the United Nations International Day of Forestry, March 21st. Thank y'all.
Chair recognizes Chairman Richard Smith for a morning order.
Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen, this is my 3rd time coming doing a morning order in the last 15 years. Georgia lost a great American Tuesday night. Former city manager of Columbus, Georgia, my friend, my mentor. If you ever studied about the proverbial infamous turtle that's on the top of a post, that's me. I'm that turtle, and it's because of this man that has contributed so much for the city of Columbus and this great state. Please join me in a moment of silence for him and his family. Thank you. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Anulowicz for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm here this morning to recognize the Georgia section of Transportation Engineers. There are 457 members of this organization, this women's organization of transportation engineers here in Georgia. They're here with us today, along with the Atlanta chapter of the Women's Transportation Seminar. They have 237 members here in Georgia. We spend a lot of time here in this room talking about transportation policy, how we can improve transportation throughout Georgia. And these are the women who are on the ground working and actually making those policies become reality. So I'm very glad that we can help recognize them and commend them here today. There are several of them in the gallery. Thank you so much.
Chair recognizes Representative McLaurin for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm excited to be here on behalf of the Johns Creek High School Gladiators, who are our men's swim team 6A state champions. They came today. They were coached to victory by head coach Steve Johnson and assistant coach Rhonda Johnson. We've got a couple winners to call out here. The 200-yard medley relay team was Simmons, Song, Yanamiko, and Davey. They got first. 400-yard free relay team was Kennedy, Yanamiko, Simmons, and Davey. They got first in that event. And then we got to send a special shout out to Adrian Yanamiko, who took first in the 100-yard backstroke, was the only swimmer in 6A to break 50 seconds, and he took second in the 100-yard fly, one of two to break 50 in that event as well. We have the principal, athletic director, team captains, and All-American Yanamiko here today. If I could get the Johns Creek swim team to stand and be recognized for their amazing achievement. Congratulations, and thanks for representing us so well.
Chair recognizes Representative Hughley for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Columbus is the home of champions today, and we have with us Northside High School senior John Jones, and he is the first ever from Northside High to win the 4A 120-pound weight class wrestling championship. He went undefeated this season, 43-0. Including 4-0 at the state tournament, and he has a record of 138-9 during his 4 seasons at Northside High. And we want to recognize him this morning. Give us a wave. Thank you.
House will come to order. House will come to order. The chair recognizes the chairman of the House Ethics Committee, Chairman Nix, for a morning order, and due to the gravity of his morning order, the chair will waive the 1-minute time limit.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning to my friends in the House. You each should have received a copy this morning of an advisory opinion of the Committee on Ethics. It should have been on your desk this morning. And I would like to address this for just a moment, if I could, please. I had a number of people come to me following our debate from a couple of weeks ago with concerns about conduct on the floor of the House. This was people from both parties, and there were some people who were concerned about the things that occurred. And one member of this House approached the committee and asked, through writing, gave us a written request for an advisory opinion related to House rules and the conduct that was experienced that evening. Now, when we address an advisory opinion, this is not aimed at any individual. We work on hypotheticals, and the hypothetical just says, if this particular action occurs, is it a violation of the House rules? And there were 3 rules or 3 things that were questioned, along with the idea of what would be some sanctions. And if you want to look at these, they're on the very first page there. And I'll read these just to make sure we look at them. Number 1, is it permissible under the rules of the House for a member to stand and turn his or her back to a member speaking in the well and to display props or signs on the floor of the House that have not been approved for display by the Speaker while a member is speaking in the well? That was the first one. The second one, is it permissible under the rules of the House for a member to remain in the well after the member's time for speaking has expired and the member is no longer recognized for the purpose of speaking? The third question, may a member record video or take photographs through the use of a cellular telephone while on the floor of the House during sessions without authorization by the Speaker? And then the fourth question was, if any of these situations are a violation of the rules of the House, what are the sanctions for such violations? Now, you've got the document, and I would ask you to please read that document thoroughly. Your ethics committee met, and we went over the hypothetical situations. We looked at the rules, and the committee determined that the hypotheticals that were presented are clear violations of our House rules. And what's so good about the document you have, Legislative Counsel basically helped us put that together, is those rules are cited relative to each question that was asked. I'm not going to go over each one separately, but you can certainly do that. In terms of sanctions, the Constitution, our rules and the Constitution provide for a very broad range of sanctions for individuals who violate the House rules. Anything from a censure all the way up to a possible expulsion from the House. And you can hear again, you can read about those while you're looking at it. Part of our discussion was this: do the members of our House know these rules, and do they understand the rules? And not only that, do they understand the purpose and the importance of those rules? We had a good bit of discussion on that, and we talked about what are warnings if you're breaking the rules, and we also talked about appeals if you feel like that you need to appeal the ruling when you're being warned. Let me give you kind of this as a takeaway, if you would. We are going to discuss very emotional and passionate issues on the House floor. And that's what we're here for. We're here to have those debates. And it's okay to have that emotion and the passion. But there are reasons that we have the rules that we have cited. And the good thing about the document you have, it actually goes through and gives some of the reasons that the rules are there. Let me give you 3 reasons for the rules that you will see. Number 1 is for protection. Everyone has to have their rights protected, that they can come to this well and speak without being disturbed or distracted to this body to communicate their ideas. The second thing is fairness. The time is divided so that each member has a certain amount of time. They know what that is. Each side of the issue has an equal amount of time that is divided for them and is given to them. And the third thing I would give you is just simple common courtesy. I don't think that if you're a member in the well that you would appreciate someone who is purposefully distracting you, your speech and your talk while you're doing that. So I think common courtesy just says to do that. Even if you happen to be someone in the back who wants to see what's going on, if someone's standing between you and the well, that's just a common courtesy to make sure that you don't disturb them. Now, this advisory opinion that you're looking at is simply this. First of all, it is an explanation of the rules of the House. It looks at scenarios that could arise. But the second thing that is, it is a warning. As I said, we discussed the warnings. Do members understand this? So there is an element here that says, okay, we have looked at this, we've gone through and used this as a warning that these things should not happen on the floor of the House. The committee examined these issues, and the committee has spoken that says that these actions are not acceptable. They are clear violations of the rules of our House. Now, you know, there's too much hostility and there's too much disrespect everywhere that we look. You don't have to go far to see that. And let me just end with this. Can I make a challenge to you? Let's let this House be the example of passionate and spirited debate, but always within the bounds of respect and dignity for everyone who comes forward. Let's challenge each other to hold ourselves to a higher standard than what we may be seeing in other places. And I'll just close with this statement that was attributed to Mahatma Gandhi. Let's be the change that we want to see in this world. And let's let it start here. The committee would not like to see these come before us again, because we feel like this is a fair way to address the situations that we saw We're not pointing anybody out, but we're saying, look, we've looked at these issues. They're clear violations of the rules, and please pay attention to what you have. Mr. Speaker, I won't take any questions, but I will say that if anybody has a question, please come to me. I'll be glad to discuss it with you. And I thank you for the time to do this. And let me again challenge you. Let's be the change we want to see. Let's make sure that this House always conducts itself with integrity, with dignity, with respect and courtesy to every member. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Bonner to introduce the Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, it's my pleasure to introduce you to my friend and constituent, Dr. Chris Walsh, is our Doctor of the Day. Dr. Walsh is an orthopedic surgeon at Resurgence Orthopedics and specializes in the hand and elbow. He received his medical degree from the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine and completed his residency at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio. He serves on the board of the Georgia Orthopedic Society, is the immediate past president of the Georgia Society of Ambulatory Surgery Centers, and serves on the Physician Performance Enhancement Committee at Piedmont Fayette Hospital. Dr. Walsh also served in the U.S. Navy Reserves and was an active duty battalion surgeon for the 2nd Marine Division, where he was deployed during Operation Desert Shield in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. So if you would, help me welcome Dr. Chris Walsh.
This is my 3rd day at the Capitol this year for various reasons. I'm very pleased to be your Doctor of the Day. And I thank you for all the hard work you've been doing this session. I've really come to appreciate what goes on down here. Thank you so much.
Chair is going to ask your cooperation as we recognize a number of groups of distinguished guests. Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 556.
House Resolution 556 by Representative Smyre, the 135th, Hughley, the 136th, Smith, the 134th, Buckner, the 137th, and Smith, the 133rd. A resolution commending the Carver High School boys basketball team for winning the 2019 GHSA Class 4A State Basketball Championship and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes the Dean of the House, Chairman Smyre, for an invite resolution.
Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of the House, I'm really excited today. I had the opportunity to teach school, and I taught the 10th grade. And in 1971, Carver High School won the boys basketball championship at Georgia Tech. And I had the pleasure of going a couple of Fridays again to Macon, to the Macon Coliseum, to see the boys play again. And they won. But this is the first time in the history that the boys and girls from the same high school won the basketball championship at the same time in our region and in Columbus. So it's a big honor for us, and I'm just happy to have these young people here. And I just wanted to tell Coach Bueller that congratulations, and I wanted this house, it's my first time in my 45-year history in this house to be able to come with a championship. And I'm thrilled, not only for Columbus, but for these young people, because my favorite quotation is the one that states that education is the escalator to upward mobility. It is the key to all keys to being a more productive citizen. So please welcome the coach from the boys championship of the 4A in the state of Georgia. Please welcome Coach Warren Bueller. Coach.
Thank you, thank you. I would like to say, first of all, thanks to the speaker, Mr. Ralston. Thanks to Dean Spirey, the Columbus House delegation, and also the members of the House. It's great to be here. It's a great feeling. These guys put in hard work, and we would just like to recognize them today. I have with me three of my senior captains, Devin Flowers, A.J. Watts, and also Jalen King. And I would like the rest of the members of the Carver High School boys basketball team, please stand. We would like to recognize them. Hard work paid off. Hard work paid off. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. This is Speaker Ralston.
Appreciate it. Nice meeting you.
He's been looking forward to this a long time. Let me get another side so you can get next to Speaker slide to you.
Okay.
All right, stay here. Come this way. Come this way.
Did you play college? Yes. Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 557.
House Resolution 557 by Representative Smyre, 135th, Hughley the 136th, Smith the 134th, Buckner the 137th, and Smith the 133rd. A resolution commending the Carver High School Tigers girls basketball team for winning the 2019 GHSA 4A State Basketball Championship and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes the Dean of the House again, Chairman Smyre, for an invite resolution.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. And of course, this is the other half of the history that was made in Columbus. The girls basketball team on the same, but before the boys played, the girls played and won the championship. And I'm delighted today because this young man, Anson Huntley, I've been knowing him since he was a kid. His father and I are very dear friends, and I'm so proud of him, and I've seen him work and become developed. So I want to tell him congratulations, and to all the girls of the Carver High School 4-H basketball team, congratulations. Would y'all please give a warm welcome to Coach Anson Huntley from the Carver High School girls basketball team. Coach.
I'd like to first thank Speaker Ralston, Dean Smyre, Columbus delegation, and the men and women of the House. These young ladies have worked extremely hard to get to this point. I brought three seniors with me because they have truly went through each year and got a lot better. They played in the state championship 2 years ago and lost. We lost in the Final Four, and this year we finally had a chance to bring it home. So this is Jalen Shaw, senior, Cedrea Mabry, senior, and Janiyah Love Hill, senior. And lastly, can I get the young ladies to stand up and the coaches for Carver girls basketball? Thank you.
Come this way to the right. Go to your left so you can.
Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 406.
House Resolution 406 by Representative Dickey, the 140th, Bentley, 139th, Powell, 171st, Morris, 156th, Blackman, and the 146th, and others. A resolution commending the Miss Georgia Peach Scholarship Pageant and the 2018 Georgia Peach Queens, and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Chairman Robert Dickey for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor to me to come before you today and other members of the House to introduce our 2018 Georgia Peach Queens. These young women represent areas all over our state, and this past year they represented the Queen of Fruits, my favorite fruit, and for my great state. And the Georgia Peach pageant is not just a beauty pageant, of course. It provides scholarships and gives the queens the opportunity to compete in larger pageants. These pageants give the girls a chance to win additional education scholarships. And this event doesn't happen by itself, and I'd like to give a warm welcome to Miss Georgia Peach Pageant board members Donna Long and her board, along with the parents in the gallery. So Donna and some parents up there, thank you for being here. So the two of our queens could not be here today. Tiny Miss Peach, Amerlyn Nicole Carpenter from Uvalde, Georgia. Teen Miss Peach, Sydney Elaine Dorsey from Swainsboro could not be here. But now I want to introduce these three lovely ladies here behind me. Little Miss Georgia Peach, Sadie Joy Cox from Camilla, Georgia, is here. Wave. Junior Miss Peach, Georgia Peach, Lily Caroline Barfield from Warner Robins. And Miss Georgia Peach, Miss Kelsey Hollis from Warner Robins. So I'm excited to have them here. Some of you might remember Kelsey. She sang for us here in the house a couple of years ago. And we wish her the best on her trip to Miss Georgia pageant in June. So Kelsey, come forward and say a few words.
All right. Well, I would like to thank you, Mr. Speaker, and the House members for inviting us to the House chamber today. I also would like to thank Representative Dickey, who does grow the sweetest peaches in the state. Although I am a student at the University of Tennessee, I know which state grows the best peaches, pecans, apples, and blueberries, and I'm extremely proud to be able to represent the state of Georgia for this past year. Like he said, I got to come a few years ago and sing for you guys, and I also got to lobby for Ava's Law, which was actually passed, which had to do with the insurance for the psychological care of those with autism. Having a brother with autism and that being my platform, I also want to just personally say thank you guys for the impacts that you make on the lives of people all across our state every day. I think people forget how hard your jobs truly are, and so I just want to personally say thank you for that. And again, thank you just so much for having us here today.
Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 568.
House Resolution 568 by Representative Kennard of the 102nd, McLean of the 100th, Cannon of the 58th, Scott of the 76th, and Hutchinson of the 107th. A resolution recognizing and commending Philip Bray in Safe House Outreach and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative Kennard for an invite resolution.
As I mentioned earlier, thank you, Speaker Ralston. As I mentioned earlier, this is End Homelessness Day at the Capitol, and there's no more significant organization than Safe House Outreach in the city of Atlanta that has addressed this issue for close to 40 years. Today, we honor the founder of Safe House Outreach, Philip Bray, and his son, who is now the executive director of this organization. Would you help me welcome Philip Bray?
Thank you, Representative Kennard. And Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for your leadership for our state. I am a native Atlantan, and I was raised between the Federal Pen and the Atlanta Zoo, and they said it's a miracle I didn't end up in one or the other. I'm a pastor's kid. My dad's church was one block from the Federal Pen, and first guy to ever break out, Jesse James Roberts, stole our car. And took it down to Tifton, Georgia, and torched it on the side of the interstate. It was my parents' first car. But we at Safe House, in 1982, I was a pastor's kid that was rebellious and had really spent my days on the other side of the law. And I became one of the largest cocaine dealers and abusers of cocaine in America. And when I came to my senses, I just wanted to go to the city to where the children were that were hurting the most. And at that time in Midtown Atlanta, between 5th Street and 14th Street, were 200 kids under the age of 15 prostituting every day. And so I just went to them and listened. And there was a Crystal Hamburger joint at the corner of 7th and Peachtree. Some of you may remember it. And so there was a Safe House booth there that we would sit all night long and feed people and listen to their stories and then say, would you like a changed life? We would like to provide you that. And we do and have been ever since with the hand up versus a handout motto. We really believe in helping folks become accountable for a self-sustaining life, and we'll go the extra mile with them. And, you know, sometimes it takes a handout for them to get a hand up, but Representative Kennard has, I guess since you were a teenager, been a volunteer at Safe House, and now his organization comes down and feeds a couple hundred meals and serves people. We feed 200 at lunch, 200 at dinner, basically that many meals, and we offer them through that meal a message of hope that you can have a changed life. So thank you. And I got to tell you, he kind of stole my thunder earlier because he mentioned a turtle on the top of a fence post. If you see a turtle on the top of the fence post, you can bet your last dollar it didn't get there by itself. So to all the supporters, volunteers, politicians, from city, state, county to even Washington, D.C., we've had great support over the years. And to our corporate partners, you know, we just couldn't do what we do without the bigger community coming together to provide a handout and not just a handout. Thank you.
Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 552.
House Resolution 552 by Representatives Thomas the 56th, Gilliard of the 162nd, Bodie the 62nd, Beasley Teague the 65th, and Jones the 53rd. A resolution recognizing and commending Chandra Corelli for her outstanding success in the entertainment industry and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative Abel Mabel Thomas for an invite resolution.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker and members of this distinguished body. It is an honor to be here today to present a friend and a star in the TV, film, and entertainment business. What I'd like to do is to acknowledge the representatives that signed off on the legislation, which was Representative Bodie, Gilliard, Jones. Look how she's looking at me. Metz, Sharon Beasley Teague, Valencia Stovall, and Sandra Scott. So I wanted to say thank you all for also seeing my vision. Also, what I'd like to do, Mr. Speaker, is to acknowledge the people that were brought with Ms. Chandra Corelli Young. And we have her husband, Larry Young. We have our good friend, Nadine Rivers Johnson. We have her son, Agape Young. And she also brought her bishop, Bishop Jim Sweeney, who is also here. Okay, all right, preacher. We appreciate it. And so what I'd like to say to members of this body is that Chandra Corelli has the opportunity to work with some of the greats in the music industry, including music mogul Clarence Avant and the legendary recording group, the SOS Band, where Chandra replaced the original lead singer. She continued the band's string of top 20 Billboard hits with the CDs Diamond in the Raw and One of Many Nights, where she wrote several songs, including the single Broken Promises. Some of you may also know her from the movie, Lionsgate movie, #1 Lionsgate movie, Diary of a Mad Black Woman. Miss Corelli is open for Bobby Brown, Howard Hewitt, Montel Jordan, and many others. She's performed at the Long Beach Jazz Festival, the Berkeley Jazz Festival, Tom Joyner, Fantastic Voyage, Praise 102.5, Gospel Jazz Live, the Holland Juneteenth Music Festival, and the Atlanta Jazz Festival. The thing that you would like to know is that Chandra Corelli's live shows are unforgettable and always leave the audience shouting for more. Because of her ability to legitimately cross musical and theatrical styles, the singer and actress is a recipient of the Best Black Female Performer in Theater and Film Awards. Her credits include Tyler Perry's Medea's Big Happy Family, the movie, and she can be seen on the Oprah Winfrey Network as the hilarious Miss V in the television sitcom For Better or Worse, which has secured a worldwide fan base. If you want an act that delivers, Chandra Corelli is the one. I present to you Chandra Corelli, my friend.
Thank you, thank you. First of all, I want to thank Representative Mabel Thomas. Thank you, Speaker of the House. Thank you, members. And I just want to say that it's good to have longevity, but it's also a price, because as people come and go, sometimes you seem to be become forgotten. It's just a great honor to be seen and to be recognized in your body of work, knowing that what you've done has not been in vain. And so I'm truly honored with this recognition. I want to thank the people that came with me, because you can't do it without support. My family, my friends, my spiritual advisors, my friends up there who came to see me and to support me, thank you so much. But I just want to say thank you for seeing somebody that grew up here, and this is my state, Georgia, and I'll always love it. So support the entertainment industry, because I've gotten a little piece of it since the film industry has gotten here, and I really feel blessed to be able to have the ability to represent Georgia. Oh, also, Thank you. But also, if you want to see it like for real, I'll be at the City Winery Atlanta, April 28th. So you want to see the real deal? Come and see me. It show starts at 8 o'clock. Thank you.
We're gonna take pictures. Sheila, take that right now.
We are about to go on to the rules calendar. We're going to pause here just for a moment. We have one other recognition that I want to do before we get on to the rules calendar. For your planning, we're probably going to do a few bills and then break for lunch and come back. So we'll give you some further information on that. I'm just going to read it off this. I could have your attention, please. We always like to make sure that we honor our own when they are recognized for being exceptional Georgians. And I don't know how many of you are aware that this is Georgia Ag Week. And so this week, one of our own, Chairman Robert Dickey, was named Georgia Farmer of the Year. And he will go on to compete, I think, southeastern United States. So we're going to be pulling for you. Make us proud. And you can tell Cindy I tried to hold this off till we got her back over from the Senate, but I couldn't. All right, we're going on now to the rules calendar. Going on to the rules calendar, the clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 368.
House Resolution 368 by Representative Smith and 134th and others, urging the construction of Interstate 14. This resolution has been referred to the Committee on Transportation. That committee recommends that this resolution be adopted.
Chair recognizes Chairman Richard Smith to speak to the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All this resolution does is encourages the federal government to fund construction of Interstate 14. This interstate goes from El Paso, Texas to Augusta, Georgia. We've had basically every governmental entity, community, and all between Columbus and Augusta who've signed on to resolutions on this, as has as Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. So I would encourage your favorable support of this urgent resolution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
You have no questions? Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this resolution now be adopted? All those in favor of the adoption of House Resolution 368 will vote aye. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the adoption of House Resolution 368. The ayes are 171, the nays are 0. This resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 97.
Senate Bill 97 by Senator Stone of the 23rd and Anderson of the 24th, to be entitled an act to amend Article 5 of Chapter 4, Title 10, the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to self-service storage facilities, so as to provide for and limit fees charged and collected by self-service storage facilities. This bill has been referred to the Committee on Judiciary. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Newton to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I won't delay your lunch much, but I do want to see if we can help solve a problem that's in need of a solution. Senate Bill 97, the goal is to set a ceiling on late payment fees in the Georgia Self-Service Storage Facility Act. It will assure appropriate fees that create some statutory certainty. Right now, these fees are often challenged or challenging because individuals in Georgia aren't sure what the fees should be or could be. This will set an upper limit of either $20 or 20% which is pretty close. The average 10 by 10 unit is $95 non-climate controlled, $125 climate controlled. So this would set a limit on those fees to $20 or 20%, whichever is greater. It would allow some certainty. About 80% of the 1,500 self-service storage facilities are run as small businesses in Georgia. So it would set some certainty to those small business owners. It would also eliminate the ability of a bad actor to have exorbitant fees that were somewhat hidden. Georgia already carefully regulates this. This is the storage of personal property. If you look through the bill, there's large, bold print on what has to be said. These are things that property that can have a lien placed against it. It can even be sold to pay off the obligation according to the current law. This law doesn't touch any of that. It just adds clarity to the ability to, for both the customer, the consumer, to know what their late fee will be, and it also allows clarity for the small business owner to know that too. And with that, I'd appreciate your favorable consideration. I'll be glad to answer any questions I can.
Chair recognizes Representative Jasmine Clark to your left for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
Certainly.
I just want to clarify. So if a person gets behind on paying their rent and they get up to date on paying the rent, but for whatever reason they don't have the extra $20 to $25 to pay the late fee, does line 42 mean that their property can still be sold for failure to pay the $20 to $25 even if they catch up?
I believe the prior section, which you're reading from, starting in section 2 there, if anyone doesn't pay any of the fees, whether rent, labor, or other charges related to maintaining that property, they can have a lien placed, and then how that is disposed of is further on down in the current law already. But yes, it would allow for the fact that if they're delinquent for the acceptable or the required number of days or times or months, that there are solutions into the contract, which is pretty carefully spelled out in the next 2 sections.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No further questions.
Thank you. I appreciate your favorable consideration.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 97 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. What purpose does Representative Chokas rise?
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Rule 133, I request to be excused from this vote.
You've got to be kidding.
We couldn't get through the day without it. Gentleman has that right, and the journal will so reflect. All members in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 97 are voting aye. Those opposed are voting no. Have all members voted? Have all members now voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of Senate Bill 97, the ayes are 115, the nays are 53. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 17.
Senate Bill 17 by Senator Gooch, the 51st, Wilkinson, the 50th, Harper, the 7th, Hill, the 4th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Title 46 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to public utilities and public transportation, so as to specifically authorize telephone cooperatives and their broadband affiliates to provide broadband services. This bill I refer to the Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications. The committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Harrell to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, the clerk did an outstanding job explaining Senate Bill 17 to you. We have 4 small rural telephone cooperatives in Georgia: Bullock, Pineland, Planters, and Progressive. They cover counties including Bullock, Candler, Emmanuel, Johnson, Washington, Burke, Screven, Effingham, Lawrence, Dodge, Wilkinson, Bleckley, and Wheeler. And this bill will simply allow them to offer broadband service, internet service, in addition to the phone services they currently offer throughout those counties and beyond. It also changes a population limitation that was placed on these rural telephone cooperatives back in the 1950s that allowed them to only serve about 1,500 customers, and it raises that up to 15,000. So just another mechanism to try to expand broadband throughout the state and to introduce competition into the marketplace. Mr. Speaker, I would be glad to answer any questions.
You have no questions.
Thank you.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 17 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. All members voted. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 17. The ayes are 169, the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 55.
Senate Bill 55 by Senator Huffstetler, the 52nd, to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 2 of Title 47, the official code of Georgia annotated, relating to employee-employer contributions and creation of funds for contributions, benefits, and administrative expenses. This bill has been referred to the Committee on Retirement. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Lumsden to present the bill.
Mr. Speaker, members of the House, I bring to you Senate Bill 55. This is a retirement bill that's requested by the employees' retirement system. This bill is permissive in nature, and it would permit a retiree of the system to convert some or all of the monies accumulated in their Peach State 401k or 557 plan into a supplemental guaranteed lifetime income stream managed by the employees' retirement system. Without this option, many retirees risk drawing down their Peach State reserve balances too quickly once they retire, and then running out of money during their lifetime. This bill would simply authorize the ERS to establish the plan and offer an option that is being requested by those covered by ERS. Mr. Speaker, that is the bill. Be glad to answer any questions. If none, I'll yield the will.
You do have a question. Do you yield?
I'll yield for a question.
Chair recognizes Chairman Martin to your right for a question.
Mr. Chairman, yield for a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, isn't it true that what we're basically doing here is if the employees have their defined contribution portion of the plan, so when they retire, it's a lump sum of money. What you seek to do here is for our employee system, the ERS system, to allow them to turn that into an annuity. Isn't that correct?
In essence, that's what it does. It's just being managed by ERS.
Right, and isn't it true that I've talked with the director, I haven't spoken with you directly, but I had some concerns with basically taking a defined contribution plan and turning it into a defined benefit plan. Those concerns were allayed in that the assumptions for this plan as it rolls into an annuity would be such that there would be very limited, if any, risk to the taxpayers in the administration of the plan because the fees are low, they're not looking for a profit margin, and this is for the benefit of the employees. And while we have concerns about the taxpayers, this is not going to put an added burden on them.
Absolutely, it does not. Looking at the way in which it is structured, I feel very good about the way it's structured. No further questions, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield the will.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 55 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of Senate Bill 55. The ayes are 171, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes Representative McLean for an announcement. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We must be getting close to lunchtime. Just want you all to know in room 307, the Working Family Caucus will be having our lunch there. In room 307 is CLOB. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Chairman Fleming for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Judiciary will take our annual group photo right here in front of this podium as soon as we break for lunch. So if you'll come down quickly, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Bennett for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Georgia Legislative Black Caucus will meet today, March 21st, promptly at 3 o'clock in room 514 of the CLOB. Thank you.
The chair recognizes the chairman of the House Rules Committee for an announcement.
1:30. The Rules Committee will meet in 341 at 1:30 for 15 minutes.
The Rules Committee will be meeting in room 341 at 1:30 p.m. This House will be in recess for... Chair recognizes Chairman Taylor for an announcement.
The Subcommittee on Life and Health will meet this afternoon at 3 p.m. Thank you.
This House will be in recess for lunch until 1:45.
This is going to be 7.